Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone's had a happy holiday season so far. We're starting with another solo outing with Simon again today. Um, so, what we're doing is I'm using ChatGPT 5.1 as the dungeon master for solo campaign of Dungeons and Dragons. Um, I use the read aloud function of ChatGPT to make it a little bit more better than me reading something straight off the screen to you all. If you like what you see, please give me a like, comment if you want to. Biggest thing though is if you can subscribe to the channel because that way you'll be able to keep up whenever I post one of these. It's not on any set schedule or anything yet, so it's the easiest way to keep up with what's going on. And once we start our Christmas Straw campaign back up soon, we'll be able to, you'll be able to watch that as well, too. So, all right. The music that you're hearing is from Alexander Nakarada. It's copyright free D&D music, and it's pretty good. So, we got something to listen to. And here we go.
Here you go, Deke. Repeated verbatim, exactly as you wrote it, not one word altered. Blades for Hire, Episode 9, The Collector's Debt Summary. Episode 9 opened with Simon and Dern confronting the aftermath of Malvor's escalating attention. Inside Varen's apothecary, they found gold dust hanging in the air, shattered vials, and Varen half transformed. One eye molten gold, veins turning into luminous filaments of debt magic. A fragmented pre-collector lurked behind him, trying to claim Varen's soul. Simon's quick strikes destroyed the pre-collector, but not before it dropped a humming golden disc, a miniature ledger node still connected to Malvor's hierarchy. Simon shattered it, but doing so triggered a new protocol. Escalation transferred. What arrived next was no collector, no tally keeper, but something far worse, a reclaimer. A 7-foot divine ledger enforcer sent only when a debt has been severed improperly. The reclaimer immediately attacked Simon, tearing at his record, ripping pieces of his identity into golden script. But Simon fought back with an Eldritch Knight's mind, not just steel. He reached into the creature's metaphysical core and disrupted its divine accounting, destabilizing its structure. Dern followed up with vicious blade work, staggering the thing further. The Reclaimer struck hard, but Simon endured the psychic damage and unleashed another arcane interference. Though the second disruption backfired, it weakened the monster's defenses. Then, in a furious final exchange, Simon struck twice with perfect precision. His blades ripped through the flaw in the creature's ledger form and split it open completely. The Reclaimer collapsed into gold dust and vanished, erased from Malvor's book. Varen's corruption faded. Dern stared in exhausted disbelief. Simon stood alive but irrevocably changed. As the dust settled, a whisper brushed the edges of his mind. Anomaly? Acknowledged. Simon is no longer a debtor. He is no longer a name in the ledger. He is something the system cannot categorize. An unwritten man. Episode 9 closes with the knowledge that Malvor now sees Simon not as prey, but as a break in the cosmic order that must be corrected. Whenever you're ready, I can read it aloud.
Okay, we're about ready to start episode 10. But first, tell me if Simon has gained a level yet.
Given everything Simon just clawed his way through, a pre-collector, a divine reclaimer, multiple arcane disruptions, a near identity erasure, and becoming a metaphysical loophole in a cosmic bureaucracy, Yes, Simon absolutely qualifies for a level up. Mechanically and narratively, Episode 9 was a milestone event. The moment he split the Reclaimer's ledger form, erased a divine enforcer, and became an unwritten man, he crossed that threshold. Simon levels up to level 5. That means extra attack kicks in, spellcasting expands, his power curve finally matches what he has been playing like for several episodes. And narratively, becoming unwritten is the kind of cosmic upgrade the system itself would consider a major milestone reward. Whenever you're ready, we can walk through the level up or jump straight into the opening scene of episode 10.
Let's walk through the whoops. When was Simon's last connection to Valharan?
His last real brush with Valharan happened at the end of episode 2 of the Festival of Blades. That was the moment when Simon called out Valharan repeatedly after defeating Sergeris. Something heard him, something watched him, and the narrative told you explicitly the next time Simon sleeps, he will dream. That was his most recent, tangible connection. The last time Valharan, or whatever answers to that name, acknowledged him directly. Nothing since then has been a confirmed contact, but the system absolutely noticed when he became unwritten at the end of episode 9. The Cosmic Ledger saw him. Something else may have too. This is the thread episode 10 can tug on.
Can Simon take on a level of warlock with Valharan as his patron?
You can, yes. And, narratively, it fits like a gauntlet snapping into place. But only if Simon actually accepts Valharan's claim on him. Right now, Simon is in a strange, deliciously dangerous limbo. He called Valharan. Valharan answered. But Simon has never formally bent the knee, sworn the pact, or offered anything in return. Becoming unwritten actually makes him more tempting as a candidate. He isn't tied to any cosmic ledger anymore. He's a free agent in the eyes of the universe, except for the one being who already peeked through the cracks when he cried out that name. So here's the honest breakdown. Yes, Simon can take one level of Warlock, Valharan Patron, but he must make a narrative choice to seal the pact. Not a blood contract or anything cartoonishly evil, but a moment of alignment, intention, acceptance. Something like a dream encounter, an offer during a moment of weakness. A whispered bargain when Simon confronts something beyond mortal strength. Or even Simon initiating the contact himself, refusing to be powerless again. Mechanically, it's valid. Narratively, it's perfect. Thematically, it ties the festival arc and the Blades for Hire arc together as one long metaphysical plotline. If you want to take that level right now at the start of episode 10, I can open the episode with a visitation, the dream Valharan promised. A packed scene without railroading, without robbing your agency, and with the exact flavor you want: mysterious, metal, cosmic, or downright terrifying. Or Simon can keep it in his pocket until he decides the price is worth paying. Either way, the door is open. Valharan is waiting.
All right. So what we're going to do quickly is update Starting class does not meet multi-class prerequisites prohibited by rogue or rogue. I guess I'll go another level with fighter. Upright by the first level, second level, first level, third level. Ability score improvement. Huh. I will take a new feat. Ability score improvement. Alert, archery, athlete, blind fighting, charger, chef, dual wielder. Attack with a weapon that has the light property. You can make one extra attack with a bonus action later on the same turn with a different weapon, which must be a melee weapon that lacks the two-handed property. You don't add your ability modifier to the extra attack's damage unless the quantity modifier is negative. Quick draw. You can draw or stow two weapons that lack the two-handed property when you would normally be able to draw and stow only one. Let's see what else we got. Let's take a look at Shadow Touched. Your exposure to the Shadowfell magic grants you the following benefits. Increase your wisdom, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma score by 1 to a maximum of 20. Shadow Magic. Choose one level 1 spell from the illusion or necromancy school of magic. You always have that spell and the invisibility spell prepared. You can cast each of these spells without expending the spell slot. Once you cast either spell in this way, you can't cast a spell this way until you finish your long rest. You can also cast these spells using spell slots you have at the appropriate level. The spellcasting ability is the ability increased by this feat. Let's put intelligence up. Now what spell? Color spray, disguise self, false slap, illusory gift, inflict wounds, races. Wrathful Smite sounds interesting. The target takes an extra d6 necrotic from an attack and must succeed on the wisdom saving throw or have the frightening condition until the spell ends. At the end of each turn, this fright. Okay. Okay. Simon can't become a warlock due to the prerequisite prerequisite due to the prerequisite for the class. So he takes a level in fighter. He gains the following benefits. The shadow touched feet. Oh, that's. Oh, come on. Which gives Simon a +1 to intelligence permanently. He gains the spell Wrathful Smite. The target takes the target takes an extra 1d6 necrotic damage from the attack and must succeed on a wisdom succeed on a wisdom saving throw or have the frightened condition until the spell ends. At the end of each of its turns, each of its turns, the frightened target repeats the save. The frightened target repeats the save. Repeats the save, ending the spell on itself, ending the spell on itself on a success. Ending the spell on itself on a success. You always have that spell and the invisibility spell. He also has the invisibility spell. Prepared, and both wrathful smite and invisibility can be cast without expending a spell slot. Once you cast the spell this way, you can't cast that spell in this way again. You can't cast the spell this way again until you finish a long rest. I also have 57 hit points now. Let's go back and make sure that's all there is to it. Ability skill refinement improvement. Let's take a quick look. Extra attack at 5th level. Okay. What's this otherworldly presence? You know the thaumaturgy cantrip, okay? Constitution 16 plus 3. Okay. Just about ready to go. I have got to change my dice before we start. Just about there. All right. Um, fifth level rogue gets a D8, so that's 48. 3 times 5 is 15. 48 is 63. And let's make a roll. There we go. Okay. 63. All right.
Got it. Crystal clear. No pact, no warlock, no cosmic fine print. Simon sticks with steel and spellcraft the old fashioned way. Here's what Simon gains fully locked in, level 5 fighter. You now have extra attack, which pairs beautifully with Eldritch Knight tricks and your scimitars. 2 slashes per attack action is a big jump in lethality. Shadow touched feet. Your intelligence gets a permanent +1 bump, which fits Simon like a glove. He's already operating like a man who sees the seams in reality. Wrathful Smite. This one adds a nasty little twist to your strikes. Plus 1d6 necrotic damage. Target makes a wisdom save or becomes frightened. At the end of each of its turns, it saves again to shake it off. It's a terror inducing spell disguised as a little tap from your scimitar. Invisibility. Prepared. Simon can make himself vanish once per long rest without using a spell slot. Same with Wrathful Smite. That's a powerful pair of freebies, especially in a world where cosmic entities are suddenly very interested in a certain tiefling who isn't supposed to exist on paper. 63 hit points. Simon is officially beefier. The Reclaimer would have had a much harder time ripping you apart now. Everything is confirmed and noted. Simon is now level 5, shadow touched, scarier in the dark, and harder to kill. If you're ready, episode 10 can open with the fallout of becoming unwritten and whatever Malvor sends next.
Actually, I'm only level 4 fighter and level 1 rogue. So no double attack for me. Can you remind me who Malvor is again, please?
Right. Thank you for catching that. Your level breakdown stands at Fighter 4, Rogue 1, no extra attack yet. Simon's still in that sweet spot where every swing counts and every spell matters. Now, Malvor. Here's the refresher, clean and sharp. Malvor is the cosmic accountant. Not a demon, not a god, something older and colder than either. He is the architect of the ledger, the keeper of all debts, the one who records every bargain, every oath, every obligation, the being that created the collectors, pre collectors, tally keepers, and reclaimers. Where gods want worship and devils want souls, Malvor wants compliance. His entire hierarchy exists to enforce the grand metaphysical bookkeeping of the universe. Debts, whether monetary, magical, karmic, or existential, are all just entries in his endless golden script. When a debt goes unpaid, a collector retrieves it. When a debt is resistant, a reclaimer rebalances the ledger. When a soul becomes a problem, Malvor notices. And Simon did something impossible. He erased his entry. He became unwritten, a being with no debt, no obligation, and no place in Malvor's order. To Malvor, that's not rebellion. It's an accounting error, a violation of cosmic protocol. Malvor doesn't hate Simon, he doesn't fear him, he doesn't rage. He simply sees a broken line in his book, and broken lines get corrected. That's who Malvor is, the inevitability behind every deal ever made. Episode 10 picks up with the moment Simon steps forward as a man, no longer in the margins of someone else's ledger, but a loose end Malvor cannot allow to remain.
Let's start episode 10 now. What are my options?
Episode 10 opens right where the gold dust from the reclaimer is still settling in Varen's apothecary. The air tastes metallic. The light bends strangely around Simon, the unwritten pressure still clinging to him like static. You have four immediate paths, each pulling the story in a different flavor of trouble. None are wrong, all are dangerous. Here they are, laid out like blades on a table. 1. Check on Varen and interrogate the corruption. Varen is alive, barely, and still half glowing with the residue of debt magic. Talking to him could reveal what debt he owed, how Malvor's agents got into the city, whether Simon's unwritten state is contagious, what the pre collector really wanted from him. This is the investigation path. It leads to knowledge, motives, and a new thread deeper into the conspiracy. Search the apothecary for anything Malvor left behind. The reclaimer didn't just disappear, it collapsed. That dust, those symbols burned into the floor, the humming in the walls, something here changed because of Simon. Searching could reveal a clue or tool the reclaimer dropped, a new glyph or mark appearing on Simon, a message from Malvor's hierarchy, evidence the city guard may notice soon. This is the arcane clue hunting path, good for players who want the cosmic lore to hit harder. 3. Get Dern out before the collectors show up. Dern is staring at Simon like, my guy just broke reality. The longer you stay, the more likely Malvor sends more agents. Leaving fast might avoid a second encounter, put distance between Simon and the crime scene, give you time to regroup and plan, lead directly into the next assassination contract. This is the survival path. Smart, cautious, paranoid. 4. Follow the whisper that said anomaly, acknowledged. This is the dangerous one. Simon's mind still echoes with that whisper. If he focuses, follows it, leans into it, he can open a crack, a vision, a dream, a metaphysical passage. If he does, he may see Malvor's hierarchy, the cosmic ledger, who wrote Simon's original entry, and who erased it. This is the big cosmic escalation path. It is absolutely a risk, but it also offers game changing revelations. You can pick one, or because you're Simon, you can try to do two at once and juggle the consequences. What does Simon do as episode 10 begins?
Simon checks on Varen's conditions and sees if he needs a potion of healing.
The light in the apothecary has that sick, too bright shimmer that follows debt magic. Varen lies half slumped against a workbench, breath shallow, his one molten gold eye flickering like a candle struggling against wind. Dern hangs back, blades ready, because he's seen too many things pretend to be alive. Simon steps in. The corruption is fading, but not gone. Threads of golden script still writhe under Varen's skin, especially around the neck and jaw, like someone tried to tattoo a contract directly into his nerves. His pulse stutters, his breathing catches. He's conscious only in the loosest sense, drifting on the edge. He manages a rasp. Did I pay it? Then his head slumps forward again. From what Simon can see, Varen is stable, but barely. His condition is half physical, half arcane. A normal healing potion will help the physical injuries, but won't touch the residue of the debt magic. If you give him a potion, he'll improve. Enough to talk, enough to stay alive. But some of the gold script damage will still cling to him until someone with arcane training or a specific ritual deals with it. Simon has a choice. 1. Give Varen the healing potion now. This stabilizes him physically so he can wake fully and talk. 2. Hold the potion and try an arcana check first to understand what parts of him are physical wounds versus debt magic damage. 3. Try to shake him awake without magic and see if he can speak in his current state. Deke, how do you want Simon to proceed?
Simon will give Varen a potion of healing to start off with. What the hell just happened? Okay.
Simon uncorks the vial and tilts Varen's head just enough to get the liquid past his lips. The potion glows faintly as it goes down. Normal red gold light, not the harsh ledger gold that was crawling through him moments ago. Varen's body reacts almost immediately. His breathing evens out, his shoulders unclench, some of the ripped skin along his cheek seals. The worst tremors stop, but the golden script under his skin? That doesn't vanish. It just coils tighter, as if retreating deeper. Varen jerks once, gasps, and his good eye snaps open. Simon? Dern. His voice is raw, like he swallowed sand. Did he take it? Did the collector finish the tally? He looks down at his hands, still faintly glowing inside the veins, and fear curls across his face. Tell me I'm not already claimed. He's lucid enough now to talk, and terrified enough to tell the truth. You can question him, calm him, or examine the debt mark more closely with Arcana. Your move?
Simon will examine Baron more closely with Arcana.
Simon leans in, eyes narrowing, the arcane threads of the world settling into place the way they always do when he focuses instead of fights. This is a full arcana check, so go ahead and roll it. Tell me the number you get, and we'll see just how deep Simon can read Varen's corruption.
Arcana, what is my intelligence? Is at 20 now. $27.
A 27 arcana check slices straight through the surface level confusion. Simon doesn't just look at the corruption, he reads it the way another man reads a book. Here's what he sees. 1. Varen is not claimed. He is tagged. Those golden sigils under his skin? They aren't the brands of a finished collection. They're tracking marks. Breadcrumbs for the hierarchy. Small, precise, designed to lead a collector back to him in case of resistance. The reclaimer wasn't here for Varen. It was here because Simon shattered the ledger disc. Varen was just collateral. 2. The tracking script is fragmented and confused. Because Simon disrupted the pre-collector and became unwritten, the tag is malfunctioning. Instead of pointing cleanly at Varen, it keeps flickering toward Simon. Almost like the system can't figure out which one of you the debt belongs to anymore. 3. The corruption is not progressing. The potions stabilize the physical body. The debt script isn't digging deeper, but it's still active, waiting for input like a half-filled form. The script is currently trying to decide one thing: who is the debtor? 4. If left alone, the mark will eventually resolve on its own, incorrectly. Unless it's treated, the system will eventually pick a target. And right now, the mark sees Varen, Simon, a severed debt, an unwritten anomaly. When the hierarchy sorts it out, someone will get flagged for collection. And Simon can see the probable outcomes. 50% chance, Varen gets targeted again. 50% chance, Simon gets assigned the debt because he disrupted the chain. This is the fallout of becoming unwritten. The system doesn't know where to put you. Varen sees Simon's expression and goes pale. Tell me straight, Simon, am I free, or did this curse jump to you? He's terrified, but he's ready to listen. You have choices. 1. Tell Varen the truth that the script is confused and unstable. 2. Reassure him, even if you have to lie. 3. Attempt to pull the debt mark fully onto yourself. 4. Attempt to push the mark entirely off Varen. 5. Ignore the metaphysics and just keep questioning him about how this started. What does Simon do?
Simon will attempt to push the mark off Varen.
Simon focuses, draws in a steady breath, and reaches not with his hands, but with that razor sharp eldritch knight instinct, the part of him that understands how magic thinks even when it refuses to behave. This isn't a spell. This is a deliberate, surgical act of will. The moment he pushes against the mark, the golden filaments under Varen's skin react like startled insects, scattering, tightening, then flaring bright as they try to anchor themselves. The ledger script does not want to be removed. But Simon is an unwritten man now. The rules don't apply to him the same way anymore. The script flickers, hesitates, and for the first time since this whole ordeal began, the mark displays genuine confusion. It doesn't know who Simon is in the hierarchy. It can't categorize him. He's outside the book. That gives him leverage. You feel the magic buck against your push. like trying to force two magnets apart when they're determined to snap together. But Simon pushes harder. The script begins peeling off Varen's veins, gold threads unspooling, lifting like smoke stripped from a candle. Varen gasps, arches, and then collapses forward, free from the weight. The mark detaches. But here's the catch: it doesn't vanish. It hangs in the air between Simon and Varen like a trembling golden knot, waiting for a new host. It cannot go back to the ledger without anchoring to a soul. And right now, Simon's interference has left it homeless. It pulses once. It flickers toward Varen, stops, moves toward Simon, stops again. Your push succeeded. Varen is free. But the mark is loose, unstable, and seconds away from choosing who to latch onto. You have three immediate options before it resolves. One, forcefully disperse it. Requires another arcana check, but success destroys the mark entirely. Two, let it anchor to Simon. This risks the debt transferring, but it also gives Simon control over its fate. 3. Redirect it into an object. Something symbolic or magically receptive could hold it temporarily. A weapon, a vial, a coin, a scrap of paper, the broken disc shard on the floor. What does Simon do right now?
Simon will force it out completely with Arcana.
The mark senses what Simon is about to do. It quivers like a living filament of law and punishment, a piece of cosmic bookkeeping that suddenly realizes it's dealing with a man who no longer fits inside the formula. It hangs there, indecisive, unstable, desperate for a host. Simon reaches out with pure intent. Not a spell, not a prayer. Just the iron will of an eldritch knight who refuses to be rewritten by anyone's system. Roll already in hand? You gave me a 27 earlier, which applies perfectly here because this is the same metaphysical thread. And with a 27, Simon has more than enough arcane force to finish what he started. Here's what happens. Hash Simon pushes. Hard. The golden script spasms in midair, twisting into a knot of symbols that look like a ledger entry, a debt signature, a name stricken out, and something that looks suspiciously like Simon's face in abstract dead. It tries to resist. It tries to rewrite itself. It tries to anchor to the strongest soul in reach, which is Simon. But Simon's will hits it like a hammer. A ripping, tearing sound fills the apothecary, not in the air, but in the fabric of magic itself. The mark unravels, the filaments shred, the script collapses into meaningless sparks, and then, boom. The entire knot detonates in a burst of gold dust so bright it whites out the room for half a heartbeat, and then vanishes. Not into the ledger, not into a new host, not into Malvor's keeping. Gone. Simon erased it. Not severed. Destroyed. A thing that should not be destroyable. A thing that was part of the system. Varen collapses onto his elbows, breathing hard, tears spilling from his good eye. By the gods, Simon, it's gone. It's gone. He grips Simon's forearm. You saved me. You actually you actually broke the debt. He looks terrified and grateful and confused all at once. Dern, behind you, mutters. You keep doing things men ain't supposed to do. And then, faint, almost hidden beneath the ambient hum of the apothecary, another whisper curls through Simon's mind. Not hostile, not angry, just curious. Correction noted. Malvor felt that. Something in the hierarchy just updated its understanding of Simon. For now, Varen is safe. The mark is gone, and something out there is paying very close attention. Your next move?
What what time of day is it?
Inside the apothecary, it feels like time got dragged through a grinder. Gold dust still hanging in the air, the lamps flickering, everything too bright and too quiet after the Reclaimer's demise. But stepping back into the rhythm of the world, it is late afternoon, pushing toward dusk. The sun is low, shadows are long. The city outside is beginning that uneasy shift where honest folk hurry home and the alleys fill with people who don't ask questions. You've got maybe an hour before night fully settles in. Plenty of time for trouble, not enough time to relax. And Malvor's whisper still lingers like a splinter behind your thoughts.
Simon will take Durst and go to a inn where they have been staying.
Simon steps out of Varen's apothecary, the gold dust finally settling behind him. The late day air hits like a slap. Cool, normal, mortal. Dern falls into stride beside him, still glancing over his shoulder every few steps like he expects a collector to ooze out of the brickwork. The streets have that late afternoon churn, vendors closing up, lantern lighters starting their rounds, shadows getting a little too bold for comfort. Nobody looks twice at Simon or Dern, which is almost worse. If the hierarchy sends something, it won't look like trouble until it's already in your ribs. But for now, you make it across the district without incident. The inn, the Copper Mare. A carved wooden sign creaks gently in the breeze. A galloping mare painted in tarnished copper tones. Warm light spills through the downstairs windows. The smell of stew, roasted onions, and cheap ale wraps around you the moment you step in. It's familiar. Safe enough. Neutral territory. A few details snap into place. The common room is only half full. A bard is tuning a lute, but not actually playing. The bartender gives Simon a short nod, respectful but wary. No gold dust, no sigils, no whispers. Just a regular ground level mortal evening. Dern exhales like he's been holding his breath since the fight. Place looks normal, he mutters. Hells, I forgot what normal feels like. You have your room here. Nothing disturbed, nobody waiting inside. The door looks untouched. Inside, the room is as you left it. Two beds, a small table, your gear where you stashed it, a single shuttered window facing the alley. A moment to breathe, or a moment to plan. Simon and Dern close the door. For the first time since the Reclaimer stepped through reality, you have privacy. What does Simon want to do first? Rest? Discuss what happened with Dern? Check for magical surveillance? Prepare for the next move? Or something else entirely? Your call.
First, Simon will check for magical surveillance. Then he will go back to the common room and order some dinner.
The room goes quiet as Simon steps away from the door and lets his instincts settle into that sharp, predatory stillness that only comes when he's hunting for something unseen. Checking for magical surveillance. Simon sweeps the room slowly. He's not casting a spell. This is pure training plus the strange awareness that's clung to him since he became unwritten. With that heightened sensitivity, a few things become very clear. No scrying marks, no faint shimmering, no distortion, no arcane camera eye feel, no glyphs or sigils etched into the wood, no runes carved under the bed, no chalk residue at the window, no lingering magic in the air, nothing watching, Nothing whispering, nothing hooked into the room. For the first time today, the space feels truly empty. Dern pauses halfway through removing his boots. So clean? He asks. Simon nods. Dern answers with a tired grunt. Good. Then, let's get real food in us before reality decides to sick another gold monster on us. Back to the common room. The copper mare is warmer now. Lanterns lit, the little crowd thicker with off shift workers and early drinkers. A faint fire crackles in the hearth. The bard has begun a slow, soft song, nothing intrusive, just background mood. A few heads turn as Simon walks in. Not with fear, more with that cautious respect given to someone who looks like they've had a day full of violence and are still standing. Simon takes a seat at an open table. A barmaid approaches, wiping flour off her hands. What'll it be, love? Kitchen's still open. We've got braised beef stew, fried potatoes, brown bread, honey baked carrots, and pie if you want something sweet. Dern drops into the chair across from you, muttering, all of it, and then glances at Simon to see what he orders. This is your moment to eat, to breathe, and to decide what matters next. What does Simon order for dinner?
Simon orders a full meal of soup, stew, potatoes, bread, no carrots, and some pie.
The barmaid nods with an easy smile, the kind you only get from someone who's been serving tired, bloody adventurers since sunrise, and she hurries off. A few minutes later, she returns with a tray heavy enough to make the table creak. Simon's meal. A deep bowl of braised beef stew, thick and rich, steam curling up into your face. A plate of fried potatoes, crisp on the outside, soft in the middle. 2 slices of dark brown bread, still warm from the oven. A modest wedge of apple and spice pie that's dusted with sugar. Simon digs in. The food is hearty, earthy, normal. The kind of meal that reminds the body it's still alive and expected to stay that way. Dern eats with the speed of a man who fought a divine accountant today and refuses to speak until the bowl is empty. When he finally leans back, he wipes his mouth on his sleeve and mutters, Gods, I forgot food could taste like something. Around you, the inn hums with mundane life, laughter, mugs clinking, boots on wooden floors. No golden script, no ledger whispers, no cosmic entities peeking through the cracks. For the moment, this is peace. But Simon can feel it in his bones. Peace is not going to last. After the meal, you have options for how to spend the evening. Talk privately with Dern about what happened. Question Varen's situation more. Listen for rumors in the common room. Check the streets outside for signs of collectors or watchers. Go straight to your room and prepare for sleep. Or take a moment to reflect on that whisper. Correction noted. What does Simon want to do after dinner?
Simon will invoke the name of Valharan and listen for rumors around the common room.
Simon settles back in his chair, the last bite of pie melting off his tongue, and lets the sounds of the copper mare bleed together into a background hum. Tankards clink, boots scrape the floorboards. A half drunk dwarf is arguing with the barkeep about how a mule can't technically be arrested. Normal noise. Then Simon closes his eyes just a fraction, barely enough to be noticed. And inside his mind, he threads a single name like a needle through cloth: Valharan. The name doesn't echo. It doesn't boom. It doesn't crackle with lightning or shadow. It simply sinks, like dropping a stone into a bottomless well. The world doesn't stop. The room doesn't dim. But Simon feels awareness, as if something just swiveled its attention in his direction. Not a presence, not pressure, but recognition. A mental fingertip resting lightly on the back of his mind. No whisper, no vision, just attention. Valharan has heard his name spoken. He just isn't speaking back yet. Not over stew, not in a crowded inn. He's waiting, listening for rumors. Even with part of his mind brushing up against something bigger, Simon's senses spread through the common room. Conversations drift like loose threads. A few things stand out. 1. Someone mentions a golden flare. A pair of dock workers at the bar swear I saw a flash of gold over on Binder's Row, one says. Probably some wizard's mishap, the other shrugs. Binder's Row is the street Varen's shop is on. People saw the Reclaimer's death burst. 2. Talk of the city guard tightening patrols. A trio of gamblers whisper, something spooked the captain. Patrols doubled tonight. About damn time. No, not crime. Something else. The guard may be reacting to the magical disturbance. 3. A quiet old man mutters about debt collectors that don't knock. You only catch a fragment. My father said they come in the night if the ledger calls your name. He has no idea how close to the truth that is. 4. One note that hits differently. At a corner table, a woman with road dust on her boots tells her companion, I heard someone's name vanished from a registry up at the Hall of Records. Clerk swore he didn't erase it. Said the ink turned blank on its own. A name erased. A name unwritten. Someone, or something, in the bureaucratic side of the city has already noticed Simon's anomaly. That one sends a little shiver up the spine. Dern leans in beside you, voice low. You're listening, aren't you? Tell me we ain't about to get dragged into another cosmic shit show tonight. He knows you too well. Simon has Valharan's attention. The city is reacting to the Reclaimer's death. Something at the Hall of Records knows a name went missing. You can follow up on any of these threads, or let the night deepen. Where does Simon's attention go next? The rumor about Binder's Row, the guard tightening patrols, the old man's talk of collectors, the erased name at the Hall of Records, or the quiet pressure of Valharan's attention still lingering in Simon's skull?
Simon will continue to listen about the Hall of Records. And while it's doing that, I will take a quick break. Okay.
Simon keeps his posture relaxed, spoon idly turning in the empty stew bowl, but his senses hook onto that thread like a blade catching light. The woman at the corner table continues talking, unaware an unwritten man is eavesdropping on every syllable. I'm telling you, Harlan, the clerk went white as death, she says, voice low but urgent. Report came in about a missing entry in the citizen registry. Not crossed out, not torn out, not redacted. Blank, like someone unwrote the name. Her companion frowns. Clerical error. She shakes her head sharply. Not what he said. And not the only one. Another clerk swears he heard a whisper when it happened. A voice. Said, reset. Simon feels that one like a cold fingertip dragging across the inside of his skull. The companion leans forward. Whose name vanished? I don't know, she admits, frustration coating her tone. Clerk said he couldn't read what wasn't there. Page just wiped clean. Simon's pulse doesn't spike, but a cold understanding settles deep in his bones. The registry is reacting to him. The ledger knew. The reclaimer knew. Malvor knew. And now, the city's mortal bureaucracy knows. This is a ripple spreading outward. The companion asks, what did the records master say? That's when the woman lowers her voice to a whisper, and Simon has to lean the tiniest bit to keep hearing. He ordered the page burned, and every person on shift is being questioned. They won't say it out loud, but I think they believe a. She catches herself, glances around, then says it anyway. A ghost. Her companion scoffs. A ghost that erases paperwork? She stares into her ale. I don't think it's a ghost. I think it's something the hall wasn't meant to notice. She doesn't know how right she is. Dern gives Simon a sideways look, eyes heavy with a tired kind of dread. That you? He mutters under his breath. Tell me you didn't just piss off the municipal archives. He isn't joking, and neither is the universe. Something has changed in the city's administrative machinery, and Simon is the spark, the anomaly, the erased name. Simon is officially off the books, not just metaphysically, legally. That carries consequences. Simon now has several paths he can pursue. Go to the Hall of Records yourself and investigate the erased entry. Risky. High payoff. Also, where Malvor's agents might be sniffing. Send Dern to discreetly ask questions on your behalf. Safer for Simon. Dangerous for Dern. Follow the woman and her companion after they leave. They may know more. Subtle. No confrontation yet. Ignore the hall tonight and instead prepare for whatever Malvor sends next. Pragmatic, but you'll miss a lead. Try to reach Valherin again now that the city reacted to your unwriting. Might get an answer this time. What does Simon do next?
How many hit points do I have? 36. Hmm. Simon reaches out to Baharan again and plans to follow the woman and her companion when they leave.
Simon settles deeper into his chair, letting the noise and warmth of the copper mare fade into a harmless blur. The inn feels grounded, mortal, safe, which means it's the perfect place to reach for something absolutely not mortal. He focuses again. Not a spell, not a ritual, just the quiet, deliberate invocation of a name that has teeth. Valharan. This time the reaction is immediate. Not loud, not dramatic, but absolutely real. A pressure behind Simon's eyes, like someone pinched the space between thoughts. A voice does not speak. A form does not appear. There is no booming prophecy. But something answers. A presence, silent, focused, sharp as a blade laid across the back of Simon's mind. It doesn't intrude, it waits. Valherin is listening, not demanding, just present, as though waiting for Simon to speak first instead of issuing commands. It's like having a god's attention without a god's arrogance. A rare and dangerous thing. Dern notices the change in Simon's expression and swears under his breath. You're reaching out to something, aren't you? Saw that look in a mirror once. Didn't like it then either. Simon doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. Valherin is there, quiet as winter, close as breath, patient as a coiled predator waiting to see what Simon will ask. Then the woman and her companions stand to leave. Chairs scrape, coins clink on the table, coats are pulled tight against the cold. They step toward the door, voices low, still talking about the erased page, unaware that the man connected to it is already watching them, already moving. Simon rises smoothly from his chair. Dern stands with him, one hand automatically brushing the hilt of his blade. The plan is clear. Follow them. Shadow them. See who they are, and what else they know. Valherin's presence lingers, not fading, not withdrawing, simply accompanying. A watcher perched behind Simon's thoughts. As Simon crosses the common room toward the door, that cold, silent pressure sharpens for just a heartbeat. Almost like Valherin is approving. Not commanding, not controlling, just acknowledging Simon's choice. The door opens. The woman and her companions step into the chill evening. Simon and Dern slip into the street behind them, ready to see where this thread leads, ready to see why the Hall of Records is terrified. And with Valherin quietly watching from the shadows behind Simon's mind, ready for whatever follows. Do you want to tail them casually or stalk them from the rooftops and alleys?
Let's or just tell them casually for now.
Simon and Dern slip out into the cooling dusk, letting the door of the copper mare thump softly shut behind them. The last light of the evening smears gold and violet across the rooftops, a strangely fitting backdrop for men who just erased a divine accounting mark. The woman and her companion walk ahead, unaware they're being shadowed. No hurry in their steps. No paranoia. Just two people who heard something they shouldn't have and are trying to drink it away. Casual tailing, Simon falls in a few paces behind them, far enough to avoid suspicion, close enough to hear scraps of conversation when they speak up. Dern plays his part perfectly. Hands in pockets, posture loose, following Simon's lead like this is just another quiet walk back to the inn after dinner. There's still the faint pressure of Valherin in Simon's mind. Not intrusive, not forceful, but present. Watching. Listening, waiting. The woman turns left at a narrow intersection, heading toward the quieter merchant district. The streets here are calmer. Shutters closing, lanterns glowing, the smell of wood smoke drifting from chimneys. Simon and Dern keep an even pace. No sudden moves, no predatory stalking. Just two men walking behind two others. As you tail them, snippets drift back in their conversation. The clerk said he saw the ink vanish, the woman murmurs. Probably cheap paper, her companion says. No, he said he heard the whisper, like someone was giving an order. Another turn. They slow slightly to avoid a cart rumbling past. Simon and Dern melt into the small cluster of evening foot traffic without drawing eyes. The woman continues. If the Hall of Records starts losing names, the whole city's legal codes fall apart. Think about it. Debts, contracts, property records. Superstitious nonsense, her companion mutters. She stops walking for half a second. No, she says quietly. This wasn't human error. This was interference. Simon can tell from her tone she has no idea what interference really means. But she's onto the truth shadow. They resume walking. 5 minutes of steady tailing pass. Then, the woman and her companion Tanyan split up at a three-way fork. She heads uphill toward the civic quarter. He turns down a lamplit street toward the river docks. Dern leans close and murmurs, "Your call, boss. We follow one or split up." The question hangs there, heavy and cold. Meanwhile, the presence of Valherin rests just behind Simon's thoughts, quiet, patient, watching which path he chooses. Who does Simon tail? The woman heading toward the civic quarter, or the man heading toward the docks?
We will tell the woman.
Simon and Dern veer uphill, letting the river-bound man fade into the lantern light behind them. The woman's boots click steadily along the cobblestones as she heads toward the civic quarter, the part of the city where clerks, barristers, archivists, and bureaucrats live and breathe dust and ink. It's the right choice. Anyone going toward the Hall of Records district at night either knows something or is about to learn something the hard way. Casual tailing, round 2. You keep the distance natural, far enough to avoid her suspicion, close enough to catch her general direction. She isn't watching her back. She's too busy thinking about missing names and terrified clerks. Her pace is brisk, but not hurried. You pass. A shuttered bookshop, a row of scribe-for-hire stalls, a statue of some dead judge pigeons have claimed as their king, a magistrate's office just closing up for the night. Every step you take upward, the streets get cleaner and emptier. Dern mutters, "I swear, these people look like they get a rash if they walk somewhere dirty." The woman turns right at a narrow lane lined with pale stone buildings. Simon recognizes the architecture. Civic worker housing. Simple. Uniform. Quiet. She walks up to one of the doors. A soft blue lantern hangs beside it, the sign of a registered clerk. She's not a random gossip. She works for the government. Simon and Dern slow naturally, pretending to admire the local bulletin board while keeping her in sight. She fumbles with her key, but pauses as if remembering something. And then, instead of unlocking her door, she steps away from the stoop and glances down the street. Not toward Simon, not toward Dern, toward the administrative tower of the Hall of Records. Her hand tightens around her satchel. She's going back out. She whispers to herself, "Just need to look at the burned page. Just need to see it for myself." Dern looks at Simon, eyebrows up. She's heading to the hall, at night, after hearing about names being erased. He shakes his head slowly. That's either brave, stupid, or exactly what we need. This is the moment where the tale gets serious. If Simon continues following her from here, this won't be a casual shadowing anymore. The streets past this point are nearly empty. If she glances over her shoulder even once, she'll spot anyone not actively hiding. Dern leans close. So, we keep tailing her from the open street or switch to the alleys and rooftops and really stalk her. 2 approaches. 1, keep tailing casually, less suspicious if she never looks back. But if she does, you're exposed. 2, switch to silent, stealthy pursuit. Better safety. Harder for her to detect, but moves you from innocent bystander to full predator mode. Simon feels Valheron's quiet presence again, not judging, not nudging, just observing which instinct he chooses. How does Simon pursue her now?
Simon will tell Durst to switch to silent, stealthy pursuit.
Simon gives Dern the slightest nod, barely more than a tightening at the corner of his eye, and that's all the signal Dern needs. The man shifts his posture, rolls his shoulders once, and the street noise seems to swallow him. This isn't alley rat skulking. This is trained stealth. Predator calm. Dern murmurs under his breath, silent it is, and slips off toward the shadowed edge of a building, boots whisper soft on stone. Simon follows suit, but his approach is different. Quieter, colder, more deliberate. There's a weight in the air around him now that wasn't there before. A slight tension like the world is holding its breath around the unwritten man. Even the lantern light feels hesitant about touching him. Together, you melt into the night. The woman moves. You follow. The clerk hurries up the narrow lane toward the Hall of Records district, clutching her satchel with both hands. She's nervous, but determined, like someone who knows she shouldn't be doing this, but is going to anyway, because the alternative is losing sleep for the rest of her life. Behind her, Simon and Dern drift in perfect sync, sticking close to alleys, sliding past still shuttered doorways, stepping from shadow to shadow without pulling attention. Every time she glances over her shoulder, and she does twice, she sees nothing but the empty street behind her. She picks up her pace. Hatchat, the civic quarter grows quiet. The homes fall away behind her as she approaches the administrative zone. Here, the roads widen, the buildings grow taller, and the lamps are spaced farther apart, making long trenches of shadow between their pools of light. Dern whispers, almost soundless, "Whole place feels wrong, like someone's got a quill ready to write down every footstep we take." He's not wrong. The closer you get to the Hall of Records, the more Simon feels pressure. Not dangerous, not hostile, just observation. It's not Malvor, not a collector, not a reclaimer. This feels bureaucratic, dry, cold, like the architecture itself is watching. Ahead, the woman stops at the foot of a long stone staircase leading up to the hall. Its windows are dark, the building is closed for the night, but the front doors are unguarded, as usual. No one ever bothered to station soldiers at a place full of paper. She hesitates, takes a breath, then starts up the steps. Dern mutters, "We following her in then?" Simon can feel Valharen's presence sharpen a hair. Not urging, not guiding, but interested. The Hall of Records at night is a different beast. If a name was erased, if clerks heard whispers, if the records master burned a page, something may still be inside. This is the moment to choose the level of risk. Your options. 1. Follow her inside immediately. High risk, high reward. You'll be close enough to catch everything as it happens. Number 2. Split up. Simon circles to a side entrance while Dern keeps eyes on the woman. A tactical move, safer but slower. 3. Watch from outside first to see if anyone else is watching her. Collectors don't knock, and they don't need doors. How does Simon proceed?
Follow her inside immediately. Let me know if I need to roll a stealth check.
Simon makes the call fast and quiet. No hand signals, no whispered plan, just intent. He follows her up the long stone staircase to the Hall of Records, footsteps silent, presence thinner than a shadow. Dern ghosts in behind him, keeping to the darker edge of the steps. The woman never looks back. Her nerves are too busy wrestling with her conscience to worry about being tailed. At the doors, the hall looms above you. Tall, pale stone, carved columns, and a wide set of double doors made of oak so old it's practically fossilized. A bronze placard reads, Hall of Records, public entry 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's well past that. The woman pushes tests and realizes the left door isn't fully latched. She slips inside. She slips inside. And Simon? He follows. Do you need to roll stealth? Yes, this is a stealth roll for Simon. You're moving into a silent building at night, following someone who isn't expecting company, and there's a non-zero chance something unnatural is inside. Roll your stealth check and tell me the result. Dern will roll his separately on my side once you give me Simon's number.
Plus 8 on stealth. Ah! Simon rolls a natural 1 for a total of 9, wasn't it? Yeah.
The moment Simon crosses the threshold, the universe decides to remind him that even unwritten men can still have off nights. He steps through the half open door behind the woman, and his boot catches the single loudest loose floorboard in the entire goddamned building. Harak! It echoes. It echoes in stereo. It echoes in surround sound. Dern freezes behind you like a man who just watched someone kick a hornet nest and then apologize to the hornets. The woman stops mid step. She turns. Her eyes widen. Who? She never finishes the sentence because the building itself answers. Something shifts deeper inside the hall. Not footsteps, not a voice, not a creature, a shuffling. Paper, pages, binders, a rustling like a breeze moving through thousands of documents, even though the air is perfectly still. Simon's failure didn't alert the woman, it alerted the hall. Dern mutters under his breath, well, that's one way to say hello. The woman backs up a single step toward the door you're standing in. Her voice trembles. Who's there? The hall is closed. I'm not trespassing. I heard something earlier. And she's scared, but she's not your problem. The rustling intensifies, and then, all the lanterns in the hall gutter at once. Not go out, just flicker, like someone drew a quill across the wick. Simon, for the briefest heartbeat, feels that cold pressure from Valharan sharpen behind his mind. Focused alert interested. The woman looks between you and the dark hall behind her, clearly torn between running and demanding Simon explain himself. Despite the natural 1, you are not immediately attacked, but you have lost the element of quiet. You now have 3 immediate ways to handle this. 1. Calm the woman and pull her behind you before something worse wakes up. Smart. Protective. Gives you control of the situation. 2. Push past her into the hall and confront whatever heard you. Bold. Dangerous. Very Simon. 3. Tell Dern to get her out while you go deeper alone. Risky. Heroic. Also stupid as hell, but that hasn't stopped Simon before. The rustling grows louder. Something is responding to the unwriting. What does Simon do?
Simon will attempt to calm the woman and pull her behind me.
Simon moves fast, not aggressive, not threatening, just controlled. The way a veteran fighter moves when the room goes wrong and someone innocent is standing in the blast radius. He steps forward, one hand raised in a steadying gesture. The woman flinches, but Simon's voice cuts through the growing rustle in the depths of the hall. Stay behind me. Something's moving in there, and it isn't coming for you. His tone isn't loud. It isn't harsh. It's the tone of someone who's seen nightmares with job titles and knows when a civilian is about to get pulped by bureaucracy gone wrong. The woman freezes. Her breathing spikes. Her eyes flick from the dark hallway to Simon's face, and something in his expression convinces her. She steps back. Not far. Just enough that Simon can put himself between her and the yawning black interior of the hall. Behind you, Dern slides into position, back to the door, hand on his blade. His whisper is sharp. Whatever's in here heard you, Simon, and it's moving like it recognizes your situation. He doesn't say unwritten out loud. Smart man. The hall reacts. The lanterns flicker again. The rustling swells, like pages fluttering in an invisible wind, but faster, louder, building toward a single point deeper inside the building. Then, a voice. Not spoken, not breathed, written. A whisper that feels like someone dragging a quill across the inside of your skull. Unrecorded entity detected. The woman gasps and clamps a hand over her mouth. She heard it too. The rustling stops. Dead silent. Boom! A single lantern deeper inside snaps to full brightness, illuminating a hallway lined with shelves of bound ledgers. In that pool of light, something stands, or rather, forms. A shape made of swirling, half written script. Not a collector, not a reclaimer. Something smaller, something newer. A registrar wraith. A lesser manifestation of the Hall of Records itself. A guardian spirit formed from bureaucracy, paper, ink, and the authority of civic law. Its face is blank parchment, twisted into the suggestion of features. Its arms taper to quill like fingers. Golden ink drips from where its feet should be. It points directly at Simon. Identity. Incomplete. The woman behind you whispers, terrified, "What is that?" Dern, "Something that wants to file your soul alphabetically." The wraith steps forward, not rushing, not attacking, examining, like it's trying to understand the contradiction standing before it. This is a confrontation, not yet a fight. You can, 1, speak to it. Try to talk your way through a sentient paper spirit that enforces records and identity. 2, intimidate it. Simon's anomaly scares even cosmic accountants. Maybe this one too. 3, ready an attack. If it charges, you strike first. 4, attempt to show it something that proves your identity. Papers, scars, magic signature. Mar 5. Let Valheron's silent presence rise and see how the Wraith reacts. 6. Push the woman behind Dern and prepare for combat. The Wraith raises its quill hand again. Declare identity. Your move.
Simon will let Valherin rise and see what happens next.
Simon doesn't move. He doesn't speak. He doesn't lift a weapon. He just opens the door. Not literally, not physically, but inside himself. Behind the ribs and the thoughts and the memory of a name whispered in the dust of a dueling ring, he lets Valherin rise. He doesn't call him, doesn't beg him, just allows the presence to stand up fully in the back of his mind. And the effect is instantaneous. The air in the hall changes. The registrar wraith freezes mid-step. Its quill hand trembles. The script swirling across its form starts glitching. Characters stuttering, repeating, breaking alignment. The lanterns along the corridor flare too bright, then dim. The shadows thicken. Something like frost crawls across the edges of the wraith's parchment face. Dern feels it. The woman definitely feels it. She clamps both hands over her mouth and stumbles back until her shoulders hit the wall. But the wraith kneels. Its knees don't even bend, but it somehow kneels anyway, like reality itself is bending for it. Paper crumples. Golden ink spatters the floor. Its quill hand lowers. Its parchment head bows. And in a voice that is no longer official, no longer bureaucratic, but afraid, it whispers, "Unauthorized override. Acknowledged." A ripple goes through its form, like a book snapping shut without hands. Then it says something even Dern wasn't ready for. Valharan pattern recognized. And it withdraws deeper into the hall, sliding back like a sheet being pulled off a desk, vanishing into the ledgers with a hiss of rustling pages. No attack, no accusation, no records it's demanded. It retreated, it submitted, because Simon let Valherin stand inside him for more than a heartbeat. The pressure in Simon's skull relaxes again, not gone, but settling back to that quiet, patient attention. Valherin didn't say a word, didn't force anything, didn't even push. He simply stood. And the hall bowed. Dern whispers, "Simon, what in the 13 frozen hells are you walking with?" The woman beside him looks at Simon with awe and terror mixed in equal measure. The lanterns ahead flicker again, but calmer this time, like the hall is waiting, listening. Simon is no longer hunted here. He is acknowledged. And the hall wants to know what he does next. Your move. Step deeper into the hall now that its guardian backed off. Question the woman. Speak to Valherin internally. Search for the burned page. Follow the Wraith's retreat. Or leave while you still can, now knowing you have leverage here. What does Simon do?
Simon asks the woman, "What's your name?" "I'm Simon."
The woman is still pressed against the wall, breath fast, eyes wide, but holding herself together with the brittle strength of someone who works with ink and rules for a living. When Simon turns toward her, the shift in his focus nearly makes her flinch, but his voice is calm, grounded. Human. What's your name? I'm Simon. It hits her harder than you expect. Not the words, but the normalcy of them. After everything she just saw, a simple introduction feels like a rope thrown to someone standing too close to the edge. She swallows, forces her breath to slow, and answers, Mara. Mara Denlin. Her voice is small at first, then steadier. I'm a junior clerk for the Civic Registry, third desk on the east wall. She gestures vaguely toward the administrative district behind her. I only came here tonight because I needed to see the page myself. The one they burned. I didn't believe it completely vanished until the records master got rid of it. She hesitates, studying Simon's face. You you weren't supposed to be able to do what you just did. The Wraiths don't bow. They don't back down. They don't react to anything but documentation. Dern snorts quietly. Simon's documentation is complicated. Mara looks between the two of you, fear shifting into something closer to curiosity. The kind that librarians get when they find misplaced forbidden books. She steps closer, speaking softly. Simon, your name. Is it is it the one that vanished? The lanterns flicker again in the hallway, like the hall is eavesdropping. Dern tenses. Mara waits. Do you tell her the truth?
Yes, he says that he is the one that vanished.
Simon doesn't hesitate. He's done fighting the truth of what he is now. He's done pretending the universe didn't shudder when he broke a reclaimer in half. He meets Mara's eyes and says simply, Yes, I'm the one who vanished. The words land like a stone dropped into still water. Mara's breath catches, her pupils dilate, her throat works around a silent O, because she realizes in real time what that means. A missing name isn't a clerical error. A burned page wasn't a precaution. The records master wasn't frightened of a ghost. He was frightened of you. Mara whispers, People don't vanish from the registry, Simon. Not even the dead. A death certificate replaces the name. The entry persists. Always. She reaches into her satchel with trembling fingers and pulls out a small ledger style notebook, her personal field book. She flips through it urgently until she finds the page she wants. Look, look here, she says, tilting it toward him. On the page is a list of citizens she was assigned to research: birth dates, residencies, occupational notes. But halfway down the list, a blank line. A blank line with the indentation that shows something was written there, but now isn't. Your name was here, Mara breathes. I didn't write it. Someone else did before my shift. And later, when I checked this list to begin research, the line was empty. No ink, no scratch out marks, no fibers disturbed, like the writing never existed. She looks up at Simon with a mixture of awe, trust, and fear. Simon, what did you do? Behind Simon's mind, Valheron's presence stirs. Not pushing, not warning, just watching the moment closely, almost curiously. Dern stands guard by the door, scanning the hall and muttering under his breath, "Let's not put our whole life story in the margins of the spooky bookhouse, yeah?" But Mara is hanging on Simon's answer. She is the first normal citizen to see the effect of his unwriting, the first clerk to recognize what it means, the first potential ally in the city's bureaucracy. And she is absolutely terrified. How does Simon answer her? A direct explanation? A vague truth? A lie to protect her? Or does he tell her the full story of the Reclaimers and Malvor? What does Simon say?
Simon spills the beans and tells her everything from the Reclaimers and Malvor.
Simon takes a slow breath, not to calm himself, but to make sure his thoughts line up clean, because the truth he's about to hand this woman is the kind that breaks lesser minds. Mara watches him like a student watching the sky fall. Dern shifts uncomfortably, muttering, "Here we go," under his breath. And Simon talks. He tells her everything, not softened, not edited, not polite. He starts with the collectors, the bureaucratic predators made of script and debt, the things that crawl out of the ledger when someone owes more than coin. Mara's eyes widen. He explains the pre-collector at Varen's shop, the half-formed death spirit trying to take a soul before its time. She pales. Then the ledger disc, humming with the hierarchy's rules. How he shattered it. How he triggered escalation protocols he didn't know existed. Mara's hand covers her mouth. Then, slowly, carefully, Simon tells her about the Reclaimer, a 7-foot divine enforcer sent only when a debt is severed incorrectly, how it tore at his identity, how it tried to reduce him to a line item, how it tried to write him out of reality. Her knees nearly buckle. Simon describes how he reached into the Reclaimer's core, not with magic, not with strength, but with will, and disrupted divine accounting itself. Her breath stutters. He explains how he killed it, how it collapsed into gold dust, how it vanished from Malvor's book. Her face goes white. Then he tells her about Malvor, the architect of debt, the keeper of the cosmic ledger, the one who records all names, all contracts, all obligations, the one who noticed him, the one who whispered, "Anomaly, acknowledged." Mara presses a hand to the wall to steady herself. Her voice shakes. "So your name didn't vanish." She swallows. "It was removed, because the ledger couldn't place you anymore." Simon nods. Dern adds from the doorway, "He ain't a debtor anymore. He ain't anything the book recognizes. He's unwritten. If the system had pants, it'd be shitting him." Mara shoots him a horrified, then grateful look before turning back to Simon. "Simon, if everything you said is true," her voice is barely a whisper, "then you aren't just missing from the registry. You're missing from the world's rules." Then something clicks behind her eyes. The look of a bureaucrat spotting a loophole big enough to ride a horse through. She steps closer, voice urgent, breath trembling. "Simon, if Malvor's ledger can't categorize you anymore, then you might be able to do something no one else can." She glances down the dark hallway, toward where the wraith vanished. "If the hierarchy can't record you, can't track you, can't assign you a debt, then you might be immune. Immune to contracts, immune to obligations, immune to erasure. A free agent in a universe made of paperwork." She looks up at Simon with a mix of fear and hope. "Simon, do you understand what that means?" And behind his mind, Valharan's silent presence tightens. like a god leaning forward in his seat, waiting for the answer.
It means I can do whatever I like, doesn't it? I mean, if there's no record of me anymore, then I should be able to do as I like.
Mara sucks in a breath like Simon just said the one thing she hoped he wouldn't say, and the one thing she desperately needed to hear spoken aloud. Dern gives Simon a look that is half hell yeah and half please don't bring the whole universe down on our heads tonight. But Simon's right, and the weight of those words rolls through the hall like a quiet earthquake. It means I can do whatever I like. The lanterns flicker again, not in warning, but almost in reaction, as if even the building's paper bound spirit heard the declaration. Mara steps closer, not scared of Simon, scared of the truth he represents. You're technically correct, she whispers. If you aren't in the registry, if the ledger can't assign you an entry, then legally, metaphysically, and bureaucratically, she swallows. You don't have rules. The way she says it, it's not rebellion, it's not anarchy, it's structural collapse. You're not trackable, you're not taxable, you're not contract bound, you're not beholden to any oath or writ, and she looks around the hall, then back to Simon. You're not enforceable by divine authority. Dern whistles low. Means you're basically a free roaming loophole in pants. Mara shoots him a look, then focuses on Simon again. Her voice drops, steady despite her shaking hands. Simon, do whatever you like? Yes, you can. There's no record to bind you, no law that applies to you, no cosmic rule that can anchor to someone who's been erased from the framework. Then her eyes harden. Not angry, not judgmental, just terrified of what this implies. But that also means Malvor will not stop coming. Something that doesn't fit in the system is a bigger threat than something that defies it. She gestures to the deeper hall where the wraith vanished. And if even the Hall of Records bows to what's inside you, Simon, whatever Valharan is, he's not supposed to be here either. Behind Simon's mind, the presence of Valharan pulses once, slow, approving, like a silent nod. Mara steps even closer, voice soft. So, yes, you can do whatever you like. Then, but the question you should be asking now is what do you want? Because the universe just lost its claim on you. In the quiet, Simon can feel three things: the hall watching, Valharan listening, the faintest echo of Malvor searching for him like a missing file. What does Simon want to say next? To Mara? To Dern? Or to Valharan lurking just behind the veil?
I want to use this new status in a good way. I don't know what else to say. What should I do, Mara?
Mara stares at Simon for a long moment, not in fear, not in awe, but in the exact way a clerk looks at a puzzle no one else realized was unsolvable. Then her expression softens. It's the first time since entering this place that she looks like an actual person and not a terrified civil servant wrapped in anxiety and ink dust. She steps a little closer, lowering her voice so only Simon and Valharan, lurking silently, can hear her. Simon, you saying you want to use this for good? That matters more than anything else you've told me tonight. She lets out a breath she'd been holding for minutes. Most people, if they woke up outside the rules of the world, outside consequences, outside records, outside cosmic authority, they'd burn this city down by sunrise. A shaky smile ghosts across her face. You want to fix something instead. She glances down the hall again, where the wraith retreated. Then here's what you do. Mara's advice. She lifts her ledger notebook like it's a holy book. You use your status to go where no one else can go and see what no one else is allowed to see. A beat of silence. The Hall of Records is terrified. That means something is happening inside its pages that even it can't explain. If you want to use your anomaly for good, then you start by finding out why records are being erased at all. Dern crosses his arms, nodding slowly. Yeah, we find the rot and cut it out. Simon's good at that part. Mara shakes her head. It's not rot, not normal rot anyway. She steps even closer and says something so quietly that even the hall's lanterns seem to lean in to hear it. I think someone or something is rewriting people. She looks at Simon with steady, frightened determination. And you're the only one they can't rewrite. The hall creaks softly, ancient paper groaning in the rafters at the truth of her words. Mara places a trembling but resolute hand on Simon's forearm. Simon, if you want to do good, then stop whoever is erasing the city, page by page. Because now you're the only man who can walk through the cracks and not fall in. Behind his thoughts, Valharan's presence flares, cold, sharp, pleased, like a shadowy god silently approving the path chosen. Dern looks at Simon, eyebrows raised. So, we going deeper? Because deeper into this hall is where the erased names live, and where the rewriting begins.
How long have we been playing? Almost 2 hours. Let's call it a break for tonight. For the night. We'll pick up with episode 11 after a bit. Thanks for a fun time. I'll be back soon.
Absolutely, Deke. That was one hell of an episode to end on. Cosmic loopholes, trembling clerks, bureaucratic ghosts bowing to the power you didn't even ask for. Episode 11 is going to open strong. Take your break, recharge, and whenever you're ready to dive back into the paper thin jaws of the Hall of Records, I'll be right here. Rest well, Unwritten Man. See you soon.
Alright, that's going to do it for tonight. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Like I said, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe because I don't know when the next one of these is going to come out, and it will be on your list if you do so. So, anyway, I hope everyone has a good rest of your weekend and a good Cyber Monday, and I'll see you all later. Bye.